All right, it's delivery day for Chad. It's Chad's trailer, and Austin's here.
What's up?
Taking, you're adjusting this further bunk to go further out, so it's, yeah, because we have an XTR that's going to go on these that is, it's fairly wide.
All right, so guys, one of the things that you look at when you decide the type of trailer that you get is, if you notice right here, just from like a week of using the crossbar style, you can see what we call oil canning in the industry, where my hull is already warped in 3 places. And if you tighten the nose of your kayak down when it's sitting on a bar like that, or if you put like a bow mount trolling motor or something out there in the summertime, I think it ends up sagging substantially and completely change the performance of your boat. That's why these bunk style trailers are way better. One thing you got to keep in mind is some boats have what we call rocker or curvature. So you don't want to do the same thing even on a bunk style. You don't want to tighten the nose down so much that you force the boat to conform to the rails. You just want to let it sit on there and basically just tighten it down enough to keep it from coming off the trailer.
All right, so we're getting a measurement between, we're basically going to measure the chine, or the places where we think
it's like 12 and a half.
All right,
that's the one Hans told me from CAD.
So this had been here, and Austin's just moved it out here, which gives us as much width out to the side as possible.
And then we're gonna use this as our base, yep, and then move this one to whatever number y'all just came up with.
So 12 and a half
12 and a half?
Yep.
So we'll just move this one into whichever one fits closest to 12 and a half. Is it 12 and a half on center?
Yeah.
So if you're gonna by yourself, you don't have extra hands. If you put these bolts in, don't tighten them up before you move the opposite end. So I'm just gonna throw these nuts on here, and then just, you know, that way I don't lose them. And then I will move this side up here, and then once I get, you know, everything back into the holes on each hole, then I'll tighten it up. Because if I try to tighten this up right now, the bar is running at a 45. Move it over. See that? And that's with the bunks being square without pretty much having to cant them at all.
Nice.
All right, so we got it moved, but if you want to be sure that you have even support completely throughout the trailer, just take your tape measure and just say, hey, okay, cool, I'm 10 inches from this inside to this inside, and then go all the way far back as you can go, and then you're another 10 inches, so that way you know that the bunks are square. You can actually not tighten these up all the way, and if you're a little bit off, you know, you just bump them out. But we're square all the way, so we're going to tighten this up. All right, so a drill makes it nice and easy to make it quick and efficient, but once you've got your bunks set where you need them, go through with a channel lock, crescent wrench, whatever, and actually hand tighten them. And that way, you know, this is a high impact one, but I don't want nobody with a 12 volt thinking that a 12 volt, you know, torqued it enough and then their bunks move after time. So just go through and, you know, old school, you know, just use some elbow grease and just be sure that every one of them is as tight as it can get, and that way you don't end up down the road and they vibrate loose and Snake River has to explain that you are an idiot for not getting it through.
So if you look across here, this set of rocket rollers is at one level, the other ones are a little bit higher, and every boat is going to have a different level that the chine dips down to. So are these too high? Are these too low? We're not really sure. So we can make those adjustments by moving this arm of the rock and roller up and down, and then when it's in place and we can see the hull comes down to, say, here, so we're dropping it down one. Once it's in place, then this little smiley little slot, this little curved slot here, will allow us to rotate this up or down to really get the most contact of the wheel with the hull. That makes sense?
Easy. To me it does.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's get the boat on there.
We're going to put it on there?
Yep.
Perfect. tons of batteries in it.
You're okay.
Well, you got to figure out where you want it back and forth wise. We got to move it forward, so.
You got good contact back here. All right. So much for an adjustment video. These are perfect.
We'll do it just for, I personally would recommend like not having them on there. Put the boat on there, and then, but just for demonstration purposes. See how that weight, the wheel just moved
So
down.
you want some resistance?
Some resistance up. I probably wouldn't recommend just like going like that and tighten it up.
The more resistance that you have, the more it's going to distribute the
For
weight
sure.
on multiple contact points. The
But
rock
if you
and
got any
rollers
weight on it,
and the
it's going
bunks.
to oil can.
Yeah,
You just want it to touch.
You
to
can
keep
see it right
rocking.
here.
it's a balance.
You
but
can
you
see
wanna
that
keep
his,
it-
since it was on that not so good trailer, so he's gonna have to level that out before we can truly get this, but we'll get it to a good starting point for him
Okay.
to support it, because if I set it to that right there, that'll pop out eventually.
Yeah.
Once the summer hits or he comes and takes a heat gun, it'll pop out. So what we'll do is we'll just push it up to there, and then this is where 3 hands will be good. You want to take your other hand off the camera?
Yep.
You can either hold that or hold the wheel, and then we'll just push this up.
What's she doing? Huh? What's she doing? All right, I gotta work. I gotta work. I gotta work. Go on. Go get him.
All right, so we thought we had it good on this side, but as you can see, watch when I pick this boat up. So if I pick it up, there's almost a little bit too much pressure on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and
Yeah, you can see a gap.
yeah, and you can see that
Like
gap.
it's not fully coming into
And
contact.
that's because these wheels are holding it up and they're holding all the support, and you don't want all the support on these wheels. The main support needs to be on these bunks, and then I would call it, what would you say, 75-25, 80-20, maybe 90-10?
I'd go 50-50.
50-50?
The other part of this is that you're going to adjust this, rotating it this way. I think you have a good,
We have the good height.
Yep.
We just got to get it, kind of square with the hole, because these boats are going to have a 45 to it, so you don't want this high point or this pressure point of just one part of the wheel into the hole. So we're going to get this wheel square with the hole. All right, so we're going to move everything down one and then match the angle, just because I don't think with that slot right there we can get the right angle for this hole.
So it's touching too much on the
Touching
inside
too much
of the
on
wheel.
one side, so look, it's just easy. Just move one bolt down, and slide it up, and that kind of matches it a little better. I might even want to
Angle it.
I might even go one more.
Try it.
Let's see. Just to match this hole the best we can. Oops. Oh no, I had it right. Alright, so we go there. See that? See that right there? See how the center of that wheel is pretty much the high point or the center point? So that's
Yeah.
probably
So
the money.
you're not leaning too hard on
You're
the
not leaning
inside.
too hard on this. That's hard. That's a hard edge. It's it's a plastic wheel, but that's a hard edge for plastic, especially during a summer day. So
So that's quite a bit different from what we
had over there.
what we have on this side. It's higher in the where it's attached. Here it's lower, but it's angled up.
We got that angle because the
And that's-
TR's got a little bit of a.
Yeah, that's better.
So we're gonna run with that, and then we'll go around and match all the other wheels to that right there. So,
Nice.
but I like it. You only got one hand, just get it a little snug. Get that wheel to where you need it. Should be good. All right, so I'm under the trailer, but look right here. I'm gonna show you these two wheels, and you can see as Jeff, go ahead Jeff, push it. As Jeff pushes, you can see how they're evenly balanced, evenly, pressure, and look how sexy and smooth that was.
All right, guys, one of the cool things about this trailer setup with these hull rollers, or the rocking rollers, is it just makes moving the kayak onto the trailer that much easier. And also, if you're getting ready at the boat ramp or something, you need to slide your boat back to put rod holders on or anything like that, camera poles or what have you. It just is easy to micro adjust, but it's also the easiest trailer I've dealt with yet when it comes to loading and unloading once you get those rocking rollers dialed in. and it distributes the weight across the hull. So the more points of contact you have, the less weight you have on each point of contact. So it's a divisible rule. The more points of contact you've got, the less weight there is on each point of contact. Less chance of warping the hull, less chance of oil canning, less chance of causing friction points as you're going down the road. So it's an industry first when it comes to super high-end kayak trailers. So the first thing that I did is made sure when my kayak is fore and aft, exactly where I wanted the weight sitting on the hull. So the place where you want the weight is anywhere there's two good scupper tube rows of scupper tubes, because that's where you're going to get your structural rigidity. So I actually set this up fore and aft where I got the perfect balance of where I wanted the boat, and then once I rolled it up to where my fore and aft is set up to where my hull rollers are in line with this row of scuppers here, and then my back rollers are in line with this row of scuppers here, and you've got some structural rigidity with these channels. Now what we're going to do, that we're happy with the fore and aft, is we're going to set the longitude or the lateral axis, so that way we can hit the trailer perfectly where it lines up directly with that V. The way that you accomplish that on the Snake River Lockers trailer is you loosen up all of these bolts here. If you see, there's a little bit of extra elongation in each of the holes. So we're going to loosen this up and tap it over till it's perfect, and then just tighten it back down.
So we couldn't get enough adjustment out of those, that top plate. So like you said, we're going to have to loosen this plate that's bolted to the plate.
And if you look under here, you're also slotted in that plate, which gives you a little bit more room for adjustment underneath there. All right, guys, so the first adjustment you can make to your bow stop is fore and aft, and basically you loosen these bolts up right here and slide it fore and aft. And then what you're going to want to do to loosen up the rest is you got to actually loosen both sides, because there's a plate connecting both boxes, and then you can set your angle. So ideally, if you have two boats to go on here, you want to put two boats on there and set both of your bow stops at one time, so you don't have to adjust it after the fact. So anyway, fore and aft adjustment here, axial or sideways adjustment this way, right here with these screws and the screws on top of the plate. All right, guys, so that wraps up the adjustments and even some of the micro adjustments for my Snake River Manufacturing double trailer. Now it's time to load up my other boat and go hit the water.
That was fun.
Damn, I wish I recorded Jeff.
Well, I got it on mine.
What happened?
Jeff took it way off the back line. Like, the shit, the emergency stick?
Yeah.
That's the rock and rollers.
That's what I was worried about, the rollers. That's the only reason I kept asking.
Yeah.
With the other ones, there's enough hole friction that you ain't got to worry about it. But
Yeah,
I think with the rock and rollers, you got to.
Yeah, it's slick. There you go.